Monsignor Fulton J. Sheen of the Catholic University of America will now deliver the 12th in his series of 17 addresses on the general subject, peace. His discourse today is entitled, The Divine Cost of Stopping the War. I present Monsignor Sheen.
Friends, in this broadcast, we enter into the very heart of the question, why does God not stop this war? And the answer is that the divine cost of stopping this war would be the destruction of human freedom. This needs some explanation. Let us begin with this fact. This is not the only kind of a world God could have made. He could have made a world without freedom. He could have so fashioned us that we would have been good by the same necessity the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. But God willed not to make a mechanical universe peopled by automata. Rather did he choose to communicate to us something of himself, namely his freedom. Not in the same degree of perfection, of course, but enough of it to say no, which would give a charm to a yes when we freely chose to say it. In other words, God chose to make a moral universe where characters would emerge by the right use of freedom, a universe like a nation where there would be patriots because men might be traitors, a universe like a battlefield where there would be heroes because men might be cowards, a universe like a church where there would be saints because men also might be devils. There is no epic for the certainties of life. There is no lyric without the suspense of sorrow and the sigh of fear. No watchful love hovers over the invulnerable. No crown of merit rests suspended over those who do not fight. Take this quality of freedom away from man, and there would be no more reason to honor the fortitude of martyrs and soldiers than to honor the flames or the bullets which send them to their death. God willed to make a moral universe of praise and blame, but this could be done only by making men captains and masters of their own fate and destiny. And there is one word which sums up God's plan in making this world, and that is the word love. God made each heart capable of love, but love implies a choice. Love is not only an affirmation, it is also a negation. If I choose this, I necessarily reject that. A heart that loves must be a heart to give or to keep. Because, therefore, God willed to make love of him possible in this world, he had to make us free. But if he made us free to love, he had to make it possible also for us to be free to hate. The universe thus became populated with free wills, little gods, each armed with a reflection of God's freedom. And God pledged himself, after giving us that freedom, never to destroy it, regardless of how many petulant souls would shriek against him, why does God not stop this war? God could challenge us, overrule us, permit us to be visited by the consequences of our misdeeds, but he would never destroy that great gift of freedom. Man could, if he so wanted, go on defying God for time and for eternity, subvert his moral law, blast the cosmos, and even break his heart. And still, God would not take away freedom. In this sense, the decree of creation to make man free was also the decree of Calvary. For a free man that could break God's commandments could also crucify him. And not even then would he take away freedom. But in his goodness, he would make man's misuse of freedom the felix culpa, the occasion of offering himself as a holocaust of love, not to force men back to him, for his hands and feet were nailed, but to entice them back by a revelation of love greater than that which no man hath, that he lay down his life for his friends. Now that brings us to this question. Could God stop this war? Most certainly God could. But if God were ever to be untrue to himself or to us, what would God have to do? He would have to destroy our freedom. That would be the divine cost of stopping this war. We say we are fighting for freedom. Then why do we ask God to destroy freedom? And that is precisely what we ask when we say, why does God not stop this war? We say we are fighting to destroy dictators. Then why do we ask God to become a dictator? We say that dictators are wicked because they would destroy the last vestige of freedom on earth. Then why do we ask for a dictator in heaven? Shall we one moment rage against earthly dictators because they would trample liberty underfoot, and then in the next moment shriek for a dictator in heaven who would do the same thing? Certainly, if we had to choose, it would be far better to live under earthly dictators for a few years than to have a dictator in heaven who by one blast of omnipotent power could take away that quality in us that makes us the paragons of creation. Fortunately, however, we have no choice in the matter. God will not destroy freedom. He will not be a dictator. And that is why God will not stop this war. Where then should the blame for war be placed? On God's gift of freedom or on our abuse of freedom? Have we not been too proud to admit that we might be sinful? When the world goes wrong, we blame it on systems, tyrannies, governments, unsound economics, and bad lands, but never on our own will. The real evil in the human situation lies in man's unwillingness to recognize his dependence, his finiteness, his creaturehood, or the possibility that there exists something greater than himself. Sin is the abuse of freedom. And that is why the modern man who denied sin found himself in a world of dictatorship. Even the idea of hell is bound up with freedom, because hell means responsibility. Deny hell, and you deny responsibility. Deny responsibility, and you deny freedom.